too many people in the past have let sleeping dogs lie. They've let their old profiles just lie because they just like the thought of actually redoing everything. I just can't. So I'm just going to let this LinkedIn profile misrepresent me because I don't have the
Right.
energy to shift it into what I'm doing now. Now it's a couple of prompts and suddenly the whole profile is changed, and you can do that, like I said, in literally seconds or minutes. And me, I mean, as much as I'm pretty clear on who I help and how I help them, uh, there's like, "Oh, but now I wanna focus on this." So I can literally go in, take my about section or my headline or whatever and say, "I'm really interested in the liminal zone right now. Can you work that in? I'm really interested in talking about is imposter syndrome a real thing?" Like, whatever I'm working on, I can, in a matter of seconds, shift the voice or at least the focus of my LinkedIn profile, and that is incredibly powerful.
Welcome to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where we simplify AI for impactful marketing. I'm your host, Mike Allton, here to guide you through the world of artificial intelligence and its transformative impact on marketing strategies. Each episode will break down AI concepts into manageable insights and explore practical applications that can supercharge your marketing efforts. Whether you're an experienced marketer or just starting to explore the potential of AI, this podcast will equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to succeed. So tune in and let's unlock the power of AI together. Greetings, program. Welcome back to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where I selfishly use this time to pick the brains of experts at keeping up with and integrating or layering artificial intelligence into social media, content, advertising, search, and other areas of digital marketing. Oh, and you get to learn too. Subscribe to be shown how to prepare yourself and your brand for this AI revolution and come out ahead. Now, your LinkedIn profile, that's more than just a digital resume. It's your professional brand's front line. But are you leveraging it to its full potential? Today, we're unlocking the power of AI to revolutionize your LinkedIn presence. Like, you're ready to discover how cutting edge AI tools can transform your profile from overlooked to in demand. We're talking about strategies that can elevate your professional brand, attract your ideal connections, and position you as a leader in your field, all with the help of artificial intelligence. Our guest, Viveka von Rosen, is a LinkedIn marketing powerhouse who's been pioneering the integration of AI into LinkedIn strategies with over 18 years as the LinkedIn expert and now founder of Beyond the Dream Board. Viveka's got the inside scoop on maximizing your LinkedIn impact through AI. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this episode is going to be packed with so many actionable insights to supercharge your LinkedIn profile. Hey, Viveka, welcome to the show.
Hello, it's so good to be back here. I'm like, I am gonna hire you to do the voiceover and do my intros for everything all the time from now on.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I have to say, all I'm bringing is the energy. You did the hard work to be the LinkedIn expert for 18 years. I've often said, just to be transparent, Claude writes these intros. I tell it what to say, and it writes these fantastic intros for me to read. So we're always using AI, right? And like I mentioned, you're the LinkedIn expert. You've been that way for years. I've had you speak on Agorapulse shows and summits and that sort of thing for a long time. I've always appreciated your insights. Tell me how the introduction of AI tools has changed things, specifically for LinkedIn profiles.
It's so huge. I was still in my old company when I was introduced to AI. And in fact, the old company, so funny. I'm like, you could take Vengresso out of the intro and now I'm going to talk about it. We transitioned into
That
Here we go. We transitioned into a software company using AI, before I even left. So I love AI so much. When I was doing LinkedIn profiles as, LinkedIn to business, and then as I was doing them with the company when we were doing digital sales transformation, it would take at least 2 to 4 weeks to do a really good LinkedIn profile. We would have to we were hiring writers. The writers would have to interview. We'd have to transcribe the interviews. We'd take those transcribed interviews and then we'd, like, use our strategy and our SOPs and our blah, de blah, blah, blahs, which we would have to teach the writers ahead of time so that they were writing our LinkedIn profiles in our style. Now I go into, Gen AI tool of choice. I happen to use ChatGPT. I season the pan, according to our friend Jordash Johnson. I love that. I love that metaphor, seasoning the pan. I season the pan with as much information as I can get from them. And I literally have a few prompts that I pop in there. And all of a sudden we have, headline, about sections, experience sections, requests for recommendations, like all the things that used to take weeks, and scripts for the portions, like things that used to take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to do. I can literally pound out in a matter of less than an hour with my clients. And, obviously there's still some tweaking that's needed, but we can get their LinkedIn profile done in no time at all. It's crazy how much it's changed things for us.
That's awesome, and I can personally attest to that. I started using ChatGPT to work on my LinkedIn profile. The first time was like 10 months ago when I was doing a pivot, and then the second time was just a couple months later when that pivot didn't work out at all, and I realized, you know what, I really just need to focus on AI and help
Yeah.
myself and help marketers level up with AI. And I was actually thinking just a month ago, I need to go back because February 2024, my utilization and knowledge and the models themselves were far less capable than they are as of today. We're recording this on September 18th, 2024.
Yeah.
So walk us through if you would. And folks, we're going to get into some of those specific sections in just a minute, but I want to stay high level for a moment, Viveka.
Yeah.
Walk us through some of the key AI tools, like you mentioned ChatGPT, that you recommend for LinkedIn profile enhancement and how they benefit users. I don't know if that's the only tool you use. Maybe there's others.
Yeah, mainly I use ChatGPT. I do use Magi as well because I love that I can just save my prompts in there. And I'm graphically impaired. So anytime I need to do a graphic, not so much for the profile itself, but for blog posts, etc., I go into Magi and I have Magi make all my images, which I then put into Canva. And because Canva has all its AI-ness now, it can, it can tweak that really easily too. So it's, it's just incredible. And then engagement itself, I use our old tool from Vengresso. It's like Fly Engage. What is it called again? Fly Engage for engaging within LinkedIn. So there's a lot of tools out there, but I would say those are the ones that I use most often is ChatGPT, Magi, Fly Engage, and Canva.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much the same way. We talk about Magi all the time on the show. I I am the same way with graphics. I have for my blog posts, I have this recurring theme where it's a bear in a
Yeah.
Star Wars setting. And I had the same prompt and I just tweak it a little bit for every blog post. It's always a bear in human clothes wearing a fedora in a Star Wars setting, teaching AI or thinking about data personalization or working with small business owners or whatever,
Yeah.
and probably three comes up with really great images. I re-roll them every once in a while, but that's it. And then I pull those into Canva, like you said, fit them into my templates, and I'm done.
Ton. It's
And that's the key.
Yeah, that's the key.
So
Like,
fast.
easy is the key. It's really funny because I was writing out my prompts, blah, 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 and then I'm like, "Oh, wait, there's the prompts section in Magi." So then I was like, "Oh, duh." So I took my prompts and I put it in the prompt section of Magi. But then I realized I'm not always in Magi, and a lot of times I'm in ChatGPT. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, wait, I have this thing called Fly Message," my old company, right? So I put my prompts in Fly Message, and now it's just, dash Magi prompt, dash this prompt, dash that prompt, and,
All right.
like, done. It's there is no way that I would be where I'm at in my business in less than a year if I hadn't had AI. There's no way. Like
Yeah,
it's
it is such an expediter. And
Yeah.
for those who haven't used it yet, the reason Vivek and I are talking so much about Magi is because it's a wrapper for all the
Mhm.
large language models. So you give it prompts just like you would ChatGPT, but you can pick and choose. Do you want to use ChatGPT? Do you want to use Claude? Do you want to use Genesis? Which model? Maybe you want to use GPT 4.0, or maybe you want to try the 1.0 preview, or maybe you want to use Claude 3.5. A lot of it might depend on your experience with those models and the output that you're trying to get. But no matter what model you're using, you can have a custom persona, which is their version of a custom GPT
Yeah,
that's saved that can be used on any large language model. So like they don't all support that custom GPT, that saved prompt kind
that's
of
right.
format. So we're using the large language models
Yeah.
to create copy essentially
Yeah.
for our LinkedIn profiles. But I know a lot of folks are worrying about the fact that they may be losing their unique voice or their style when they're using AI in this way. How do you recommend them that they use AI and they keep that authentic voice, and particularly for LinkedIn profiles?
Well, the more you use it, the better it is. And I I it that was a legit concern certainly in the beginning of AI. I mean, some of the stuff that ChatGPT came up with and even Magi came up with at the beginning was like, meh. The seasoning the pan thing that Jordish Johnson talks about, which is simply the more information about yourself and your voice that you can get into a particular chat stream, the more authentic your voice will sound. And so by seasoning it enough, like the content that comes out sounds like the person or sounds like me when I'm doing it for myself. And it just takes a little bit now of editing and there's no spelling and grammatical errors, which is winning. So it's a little bit scary, but the more you use it, the more authentically your voice will come out. And you can, never use the word 12 again. You You can tell, and not that it listens, and can you please cite
Yeah.
this? Like, let's get rid of the hallucinations, like all of that, right? But can you please cite any facts because, ChatGPT and the other ones like to make stuff up. But the more you use it, the more authentic the voice sounds. And if you're really worried about it, then by all means go in and add your own stories. Add the things that ChatGPT couldn't possibly know about you. Add those personal stories. It really is the differentiator when you are writing, because otherwise we'd just be creating all of our content through ChatGPT, posting it automatically to our content, to our streams and going, oh, we're done. But by adding that personal story, as our friend Chad would say, story catching and getting that information into our content, the more authentic it continues to be, and it'll stand out from the obviously AI created content out there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can give the AI samples of your writing. Go find the blog posts or letters or anything, email that
Before
you've written
AI.
that you are
Before
most
AI.
proud of. Yeah, before AI, right? That you personally written every word on there, typos and grammar,
Typos and
flags
all.
and all, curse words and all, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Find that and give that to the AI and
Yeah.
train it like you would an intern. This is
Yeah.
how I write, like you would train a ghostwriter. And to
Yeah.
your point, if you're still not comfortable doing that, well then let AI help you build a framework for what it is that you should be putting into these various fields. And like I said, we're going to get into some of the specific LinkedIn sections in a minute. But the one other thing that I want to ask you about is that you've been doing this for years. You've worked with so many clients. You've seen so many people do the wrong things and make mistakes on LinkedIn. I want you to think about some of the most common mistakes you've seen people make on LinkedIn, but also couch it from the perspective of how AI can help us today now eliminate some of those mistakes.
Yeah, well, spelling errors and grammatical errors, that's number 1,
Yeah,
and I'm totally
easy.
guilty of that. Like, everything I write, I just go, "Keep the content exactly as it is, but please fix my spelling and grammatical errors." Boom, done. Because 'Cause I'm a terrible, terrible, horrible typist. Like, that was the only class I ever flunked in school. People still see LinkedIn as a resume on steroids. I'm like, how do you still, 20 years later, see
Yeah.
it as a resume? It's a marketing tool. It's a business tool. It's a sales tool. But anyway, so they don't use all the features and even the features they're using, they use it like a resume. So instead of the 220 character headline telling people who you help and how you help them, kind of your little mini elevator speech, it's, CEO of at such and such company, and CEO spelled incorrectly, like, no, I mean, no, CO, I don't know, it's crazy. So, you need to fully utilize all of the features allowed you on LinkedIn because each section makes you more findable in online, but it also lends to your own credibility. So things like headlines using the full 220 characters, but again, focusing on who you help and how you help them, and then who you are. creating from that, you can create a little script for the audio section, which may or may not even be around by the time this airs. Expanding on that for the about section, mm, refining that for the experience section, like all of these things you want to get your own information into, obviously, but you don't want it to be a resume. When I worked at that other company, we'd always say you need your LinkedIn profile to be a resource, not a resume. And so if you were looking at your LinkedIn profile, what would you want to read? How would you want somebody else's profile to help you if you were reading your own profile? Would you buy from yourself,
Mm.
or would you be like, yeah, that person clearly doesn't care about me. They're more interested in being in the, President's Club for 25 years, whatever. So you need to read your own profile from the eye of your audience and see if you would yourself engage with you if you were him or her. I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Your
I
LinkedIn
do.
profile needs to be a resource. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. You need
Yeah.
to speak to your audience and not just about yourself. I used to design websites, and I had to always push back on
Yeah.
clients who, I mean, they wanted to put the most god awful, atrocious things on their website because this
Yeah.
was a long time ago. I was working with small businesses. They'd want to put GIFs and memes and things on their
Yeah.
websites. Like, no, it's not about what you like. Not at all. You might hate these colors, but if your audience loves these colors, if your audience loves this messaging, we want to keep it. Anyways,
I'm my audience now. I'm not an old white guy
yeah.
anymore. I mean, I never was an old white guy, but like I'm my
No,
own audience. So my branding is like in perfect alignment with my audience, which is essentially me.
that's hugely important. In fact, I
Yeah.
should mention I've had a checklist for LinkedIn profiles for all of you listening. I'll put that in the show notes. That'll be a quick stop guide for you to work through. These are the different things I need to think about because it isn't just headline and about like many people stop there. But I do want to pick your brain for just a second because, as I said, I'm about to refresh my LinkedIn profile. And one of my struggles is with the headline because I work full time for Agorapulse and I also have the social media hat in this podcast.
Yeah.
And they're definitely different audiences. So I've
Yeah.
struggled to come up with a phrase, and I've almost felt like it's not appropriate for me to use a phrase of, who I help and why I help them or anything along those lines. And so instead I go back to, this is what I do at Agora Balls. This is what I do on the side. Do you have a different take on that?
Well, I would do exactly I think what you're hinting at, which is simply go, this is what I do for Agorapulse, and Agorapulse helps these people do this thing. This is what I do in my podcast, and it helps these people do these things. This is what I'm really interested in, and I help these people do these things. What are the commonalities, and are you able to create a 220 character pro headline from that? And then and then it'll give you one, and then you're like, can you give me 5 more? And then you can say, I like this and this and this. Cause that's what usually ends up happening with my clients. I'll have it give me 5 options. 10's too many, I found out. So I have it give me 5 options and we pick and choose the phrases we like. And sometimes we can just piece them together ourselves, or sometimes we just go, we like this, and this, turn it into a headline. But and if you don't get anything you like, that's also information. And you can say, okay, I don't like any of that. Can you do this instead? The more you work, it's just, ChatGPT is just like working with anyone else. The more information you give it, the better the results are until it goes into the hallucinations and then it starts giving you total crap, in which case you say, stop hallucinating. Get back to what I asked for at first. But anyway, that's what I would do. I have these interests. What are the commonalities? Can you create a profile headline from that?
Love that advice. And you're absolutely right about the number of choices. You get more than 5 or 6 choices. Now you're getting
Yeah.
into a paradox of choice situation where
Right.
it's too many to choose from, so you cannot make a choice.
Can't.
And one of the things that I love about the newest version of ChatGPT, we don't often talk about news and that sort of thing on this show because
Yeah.
it becomes dated so fast. But
Yeah.
again, we're recording this on September 18th. And as of this week, OpenAI has released their latest version of ChatGPT 1.0-preview, which is a horrible name, but it's a really interesting model because it reasons. It deliberately takes the time to think about what you're asking it to do. And the reason I bring it up is because with ChatGPT 3.5 and 4.0, you tell it, I need a headline that's 280 characters or less. It will fail every time. It'll give you
Every time it can't
207,
out.
305. It doesn't care. It's like, whatever. You figure it out. You do the math, human. The newer models will be better. They're so much better at that. You tell the character count. It may not be perfect every time, but it's still going to be
Right.
so much closer.
Yeah, you're
I
only
did
off
some
by
tests the
2
other day.
characters, right? So you can take off a
Right.
period and you're good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
change an
exactly.
and to an ampersand, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
tricks that we know we can get away
exactly,
with.
exactly. And
Yeah.
eventually it'll be able to do words on images too.
Yeah. Yeah. The image modality is coming, and it's going to get so much better. Folks, we're talking with Viveka von Rosen about the ways that you can leverage AI to improve your LinkedIn presence. And in a moment, we're going to dive into tailoring your profile for specific goals and more. But before we get to that, let me share with you that tool that we were talking about earlier that I'm using to help me level up my LinkedIn. This episode of AI and Marketing Unpacked is brought to you by Magi, your gateway to making generative AI incredibly simple and accessible. Wondering how to seamlessly integrate AI into your marketing strategy without getting bogged down by complexities? That's exactly where Magi shine. It provides user-friendly AI solutions that empower marketers just like you to innovate and elevate your campaigns without needing a degree in data science. Imagine having the power to generate creative content, insightful marketing data analysis, or even personalized customer communications, all at the touch of a button. Magi isn't just about providing tools, it's about transforming your approach to marketing with AI that's tailor-made to be straightforward and effective. So, whether you're looking to boost your content creation process or want deeper insights into your marketing performance, Magi makes it all possible with a few clicks. No fuss, no hassle, just results. Ready to simplify your AI journey? Visit Magi today to learn how their solutions can revolutionize the way you engage with your audience. Don't just market smarter with Magi. Tap the link in the show notes.
I like seriously need to take half to a full day a week and just like listen to your podcast and go into Magi and do like all of its lessons and stuff. Cause I know as well as I'm using AI, I'm just listening to you talk in that. I'm just like, "We do that."
Yeah, and that point I made earlier about being able to change the language model. Once
Mhm.
you start using AI extensively, you'll find that different large language models will work so much better for different use cases. Like if you're writing copy, Claude is actually much better. It's something where, we're talking about segments of our profiles
Yeah.
that have large bits of text. You might want to try using Claude for those. And
Yeah.
it's so easy in Magi just to flip back and forth, even in the same chat. So you can prompt it using ChatGPT and then say the same prompt again
Oh
with
my God, I
Claude
love
and compare the results.
Is preview in Magi yet?
Yeah.
It
No,
is. No.
I don't think it is. No, I don't think
Okay.
it is.
I did
I'm sure that's coming.
I haven't played enough with either with it anyway, so but that's so cool. Yeah, that's I mean, I love when I'm creating my images because to your point, like I won't use DALL-E anymore because but some of the other images that it's creating and it keeps adding new image makers all the time. And it's I mean,
Yeah.
some of the images are blowing me away. Like you could see in the progression of my blog posts, like when I was using Dolly at the very beginning, which was mind blowing to me then, and compared to the images that we're getting now, it's like what? So cool, so cool.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about LinkedIn some more. And I
Yeah,
and I wonder if you could share an example of a client or someone you've worked with who've basically transformed their LinkedIn profile using AI, particularly and how you applied some of these AI powered profile strategies.
yeah, yeah. Well, so every client, but it's funny because one of my clients hired, actually, three of my clients hired me to do. They thought they were hiring me to help them with their LinkedIn. And so which is great, like, I'll still do that. But it was really interesting because these 3 clients all hired me to help them with their LinkedIn to find JOBs. And so we spent, our first 1 or 2 sessions getting all of the information together and starting to build out their LinkedIn profiles. So back in the day, number one, that would have been closer to a $4 or $5,000 investment for them. It would have taken me, like I said, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. But now it's a $1,500 investment. We don't just do profiles, we do profiles and messaging and content strategy and all of those things because we can get that much in. So for all three of these ladies, like one-ish sessions in, they all decided they wanted to start their own businesses. They're like, "You know what? We actually don't want a job."
Uh-huh.
Right? And so before that would have been, well, throw that $5,000 away.
Right.
Since we already had built out their voice and because they were staying kind of in the same arena, but they were just wanting to create their own thing rather than work for somebody else, we could, in a matter truly of seconds, rework their entire profiles. So instead of another 2 weeks and another $5,000, like, we were able to completely rework their profiles to their satisfaction in, like, just no time flat. So that is incredibly powerful, and to your point, right? You thought you had this rebrand back in February, things didn't work out. It Too many people in the past have let sleeping dogs lie. They've let their old profiles just lie because they just like the thought of actually redoing everything. I just can't. So I'm just going to let this LinkedIn profile misrepresent me because I don't have the
Right.
energy to shift it into what I'm doing now. Now it's a couple of prompts and suddenly the whole profile is changed. And you can do that, like I said, in literally seconds or minutes. And me, I mean, as much as I'm pretty clear on who I help and how I help them. uh, there's like, oh, but now I want to focus on this. So I can literally go in, take my about section or my headline or whatever and say, I'm really interested in the liminal zone right now. Can you work that in? I'm really interested in talking about, is imposter syndrome, a real thing. Like whatever I'm working on, I can in a matter of seconds shift the voice or at least the focus of my LinkedIn profile, and that is incredibly powerful. We used to do that in posts, not in our actual profile itself, which is more like a website and was much more stagnant in the past.
That is so powerful. I love those examples. Thank you for sharing that. And we're gonna come back to that in for just a second,
Yeah.
but let's talk about the different LinkedIn sections because there
Yeah.
are a lot, right?
There's
We talked about headlines, we talked about, and you mentioned experience and the
Yeah.
descriptions in there.
Yeah.
So AI can help with all those.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely,
And are there others?
100%.
Well,
And they kind of build on each other too, which is what's so
mm,
cool, right? Because once you have your headline, you go, can you expand on I can even pull out an actual prompt or I can share my prompts, in the show notes later, but, like, I like number 2. Can you expand upon that? Well, instead of me just
let's share
guessing,
now.
let me
Uh,
just actually read the prompt. So here's
it-
okay, so
we'll just workshop my LinkedIn profile in the recording.
perfect, perfect. So my LinkedIn headline prompt, very, it's not that you are a social media and copywriting expert. I would like you to help me with LinkedIn. I would first like you to write a 200, and this is before LinkedIn could or AI could count. So now I can go back
Yeah.
to the 220 character headline, no emojis, focused on my ideal client, their point of pain, and how I help them. Leave room for my title and company at the end of this professional headline. So it's not rocket science there, but that's just it. You're a social media and copywriting expert. I'd like you to help me with LinkedIn. Here's the character count, no emojis, focus on my ICP. It will have already known my ICP obviously by this point. Oh, but by the way, we can use LinkedIn to help us get all of those, not LinkedIn. We can use AI to help us get all of those foundational pieces in place because a lot of my women, like I mentioned, are coming from corporate into entrepreneurship and maybe they're in the same industry or they have the same audience or maybe they don't, like me, right? And so I actually used AI to help me find my audience, help me find the type of language that my audience would align with. And it's easy for me because I am my audience. But, for people whose audience is different from who they are, AI can help you with that. They can help you find your ideal customer profiles. They can help you find your buyer personas. It can tell you what I said. I'm like they, like they're people. It can tell you, what colors are interesting to them. It can tell you
Mm.
what tone of voice, and you take all of this then and then build your GPTs out of it. I mean, it's so incredibly powerful. Anyway, I went on a diatribe. So that's the LinkedIn headline prompt. And then from that, okay, so we choose our section. This is the literal prompt. I'm reading it off my screen right now. That's great. Always be polite to the AI because
Always, always,
always
please and
just
thank
just
yous.
pleases and thank yous. Your mama raised you that way. That's great. I like number 3 above. Please expand on this in the about section, which is up to 260 characters. And now I can be honest about the character count. Please make sure the about section is focused on the buyer, their needs, and how I can help them. Please write this in the first person and start with a CTR, a call to read, because sometimes it remembers what a CTR is, sometimes it doesn't, which is an interesting and verified. So stop making stuff up, ChatGPT. A interesting and verified quote or statistic that will grab the attention of my buyer. Add lots of white space to the content. Use lists, numbers, or bullets where relevant. Here's my current about section. Please integrate, copy paste your about section that you have. If you want, you could just copy and paste that straight in. And then from that, I can go into, and I don't do so much as many experience sections because they tend to be more traditional. But you know, now take my about section, focus on my buyer, and bring in some of the products and services that I offer. Copy and paste link to my website, and you have 2,000 characters to do that. So, all of that again, especially since I've already got the prompts written,
Yeah.
seconds takes seconds. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
And to your point, if those of you listening, you haven't taken the time already to identify your target personas and your ICPs, your brand voice, and that sound, those kind of stuff, that's absolute pre-work you can start with. And that will still take
Yeah.
time, but it won't take, 30, 60, 90 days like it might with a PwC consultant. This is something that you can just have a conversation with
Magi
the AI. Tell the
brand. Yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
use
Using
Magi's marketing
GPT.
expert persona,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you say, look, I want to develop my target audience.
Yeah.
Ask me questions. And it'll start asking you questions about, who you're serving, what your products, what your business. It'll ask you all these
Yeah.
things. And it'll help
Yeah.
you develop that in short order.
Yeah. It's incredible. In fact, I blow my clients' minds because a lot of them aren't as AI savvy. Not that I'm super AI savvy, but a lot of them are down the ladder from me. And I'll get into Magi and use either the brand voice GPT or the marketing GPT or one of the many other GPTs they have. And I'll be like, I'll be asking my client the question, badly typing in the answer, but it doesn't matter if you can't spell or type because, it understands. And
Yep.
and then and then we start, it's just, and then I'll ask them more questions that I'm being fed. And they're just like so blown away by my deep level of knowledge of brand and voice, etc. I'm like, I have to tell the truth at some point. And I'm like, okay, I'm just using a tool. It's really cool. Check this out.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I say
Yes.
that on this podcast
Yeah.
all the time. I have 6 podcasts, and the only way that I'm able to do 6 podcasts
Yeah.
is I have custom GPTs, personas
Yeah.
that are helping me develop the run a show for each one of these. So
Yeah.
these questions, in large part, Claude wrote them. I mean, obviously, I had input into how this works and how this runs,
Right.
but not to invent these all the time. So
Yeah.
you're working with clients,
Yeah.
and let's say they're going after a job or they have very, very
Mm.
specific career goals.
Yeah.
How would you use AI tools to help somebody in that situation?
Yeah, and I mean, this is what we did. We went right into the job section of LinkedIn. We looked at jobs that they wanted, and this is where you don't even have to plagiarize anymore. We went into the job descriptions, and then there's another section in jobs on LinkedIn where it actually tells you the requirements that it needs, and literally copy and paste into ChatGPT and say, you know, write me a whatever, integrate this into my about section so that we have these words or phrases in my about section. write introduction so I can find someone mutual that I have in common with the person who posted that job on LinkedIn using these terms or phrases or whatever. Write a cover letter for me with these terms or phrase. Like you pull in the information and then you let GPT do the boring stuff. Let it do the boring work and put that into a voice for you. But yeah, now you can have a separate resume depending on which job you're applying for. You can have a different cover letter template depending on what job you're looking for. You can change up your LinkedIn profile. Like this week, I'm going to be applying for this job. So my about section is going to read this. But next week, I'm applying for that job in this different industry. So now my headline and my about section are going to read differently. Like you can change it up that quickly if you need to. But don't
That is
call me to do
huge
job searching
advice.
because I really don't wanna do that.
No, but that is huge and powerful advice. The first
Yeah,
point was that, and a lot of people don't think to do this,
yeah,
searching what's already on LinkedIn
yeah,
outside of your profile for the actual language to use. I mean, in marketing, we're used to doing this by researching and
yeah,
surveying customers and talking to them, having discovery calls, and
yeah.
learn from them the language that they're using to describe their problems. Well, it's the same thing. Just now,
Mhm.
the problem is
Yeah.
that this company has a job opening. They need to fill it,
You
and
are the product.
you are the solution right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So I love that tip. And to your point, if instead of spending time laboring over
yeah,
an about that I'm just going to write myself, I instead spend the time laboring over a custom GPT or an AI that understands who I am and can help me craft this stuff.
yeah.
You're right. Now I can rip them out on a regular basis. Things that would have been a blocker for me in the past because I don't have time to write 3, 4, 20 different cover letters. I don't have time to change my about every single week. No, I can in
Yeah, you can.
seconds. That's
In
awesome.
seconds. Copy, paste, boom, done. You want it in another language? No problem. I mean,
Ah,
there's really cool like, for those of us we were chatting before the show about, being digital native and where would you live if you could, and, like, so what if you wanna go move to Ecuador or France. Great. Here's my profile. Can you write this in French, please? Can you write this in Spanish, please? Right.
right.
The problem with that is people start responding to you and asking you questions in French or Spanish, and you're like, no comprende, no parle
That's where
francés.
AI can help too, and pretty soon you're gonna have
Gracias.
ChatGPT on your phone where you can have that verbal conversation and
Oh, I already
see the
do, and
or
we're in
hear the
Costa Rica.
translation. Yeah,
Oh my god, the AI features on some of these, yeah, translation tools, crazy.
we'll all have universal translators. But
Toot toot.
I do wanna ask about pitfalls. Are there any pitfalls, any ethical considerations when it comes to
Mm,
using AI for the kinds of things we've been talking about?
no, no, just use it. No.
Nope, not at all.
No, ethical considerations, just do it. What's interesting is a lot of like when I publish my books or when I write for like Fast Company or whatever, you have to say if any of the content is AI generated. So, ethically, if you are using AI, tell people you're using AI. Like I will put when I remember AI generated image,
Mhm.
so it's good to let people know what's AI and what's not. Plus, if you use the word 12, they will know you are using AI. So there's that. Obviously, you know, and you can use AI to do this, but check to make sure you're not directly plagiarizing somebody else, because that's not gonna be an excuse for long. Like, "I didn't know. ChatGPT wrote it for
Mhm,
me. I didn't
mhm.
know I was plagiarizing Brené Brown." Don't go into your AI, like, with the intent of actually plagiarizing someone without plagiarizing. Like, "Can you write me an article that sounds exactly like Brené Brown, but don't use her exact," like,
Yeah,
don't manipulate AI that way so that you can sound smarter than you are. AI is gonna make you sound smarter than you are anyway. Like, you do need to go the extra step, and do take the time to read through the answers and fact check, et cetera. There's all kinds of I mean, there's gonna be all kinds of compliance issues, especially depending on what industry you're in that we haven't even, like, touched upon yet, that everyone's gonna have to be aware of in time. Obviously, there's deep fakes that hopefully none of us are involved in, But, all of this is there's a whole industry being born around all of this right now. I think just try to be as authentically you as you can be. Treat AI like an employee that you have that is helping you create marketing, sales, whatever content, and direct it in the best way you can, just like you would direct an employee.
Yeah.
That
In fact, I loved your point about not directing the AI to use somebody else's voice. A lot of the early AI
Yeah.
tools would have like drop downs for voice, and they would
Yeah.
encourage you to pick a known celebrity, create a social post in the voice and style of Gary Vee. Well,
Yeah.
that's not me. I'm obviously not Gary Vee.
Right.
Gary is Gary.
Right.
Why would I want to create social content that's supposed to sound like him? That never made sense to me.
No.
And I like that
No.
we've pretty much gotten away from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You obviously have the freedom to type that in if that's what you want to do,
Yeah.
but you're not encouraged to. And we're
And
obviously
then you're not authentically you, and then
yeah.
yeah, like, you need to be as authentically you. Yeah. One of the other tools I use that I love used to be Content at Scale, now it's Brandwell, right? And
Yeah.
Julia, she's just fantastic. Love her, go girl. But yeah, they had that, like, do you want it, and, like, the closest I could come to wanting to sound like was Julia, but I don't sound like Julia, and Julia doesn't sound like me, so, yeah, that the whole drop down sound like thing, I'm glad that was a passing phase.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got just one more question for you. It would be a quick one. Out of all the things that we've talked about so far, we've talked about, abouts and headlines and developing personas, that thing. If I only had time to do one thing, what out of everything we've talked about, or maybe something we didn't mention already, would be the one thing that you recommend having the most powerful impact from this AI powered perspective?
You you don't have time for just one thing, you can do it all in seconds. I think the headline and the about section are gonna be your most important, and we didn't even, like, jump into creating content, which is so
Yeah.
easy to do, to creating messaging, which is so easy to do, like, I'm clearly gonna have to come back. So, as I invite myself back on your show. But, yeah, I think just nailing your headline and then nailing your about section, those 2 things I think are probably the quickest shift you can make to your LinkedIn profile that will have an impact.
Well, and I think it's important to note that we have done an entire show just about your profile because it is that important.
It is.
This
Yeah.
this this is something people should spend a significant amount of time on. They should think about it
Yeah.
on a regular basis. I mean, I used to recommend people think about look at their profile every 36,
Yeah.
90 days
Yeah.
and make sure, has anything changed? Can I add anything? Did I get a certification? So do that. But for
Yeah.
folks who do want to connect with you, learn more, find out what you've got going on, where can they go to connect with you?
Probably
For
LinkedIn. It used to be easier. I used to say, like, Google LinkedIn expert, you'll find me. Good. Now you have to learn how to spell my name, which is Viveka, Viveka, Von Rosen, Vonrosen, or you can actually just see it on the screen there. Just Google me. You'll find me. Let's connect. Just tell me that you heard me on this show, and I'm more than happy to connect and answer any questions you have.
Well, the good news is we will have everything linked in the show
Yeah.
notes. You don't have to remember how to spell anything because we've got AI now, and you've also got show notes below. But thank you, Viveka. Thank you, everybody, for listening. That's all the time we've got for today, friends. But remember, if you're just getting started in AI and want a quick rundown of how it's impacting marketing overall, download the AI Marketing Primer linked in the show notes below, and you'll join my community of over 45,000 successful marketers around the world. Welcome to the grid. Thanks for joining us on AI in Marketing Unpacked. I hope today's episode has inspired you and given you actionable insights to integrate AI into your marketing strategies. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions you might have. Don't forget to join us next time as we continue to simplify AI and help you make a real impact in your marketing efforts. Until then, keep innovating, see just how far AI can take your marketing. Thank you for listening and have a fantastic day.